Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Training Log Podcast Season 2, where we have a very special episode today. Special indeed because not only do we have two of our teammates on, but it's our first ever double guest episode. We have Shane Marchese and Eva Woodworth, two of our great teammates. So if you guys would like to introduce yourselves and maybe talk a little bit about why you're on the show. I guess we'll start with Shane.
Hi, I'm Shane. We're on today to kind of speak about injuries, I believe. At least that's I think what we had planned. I'm a fifth year at SUNY Oneonta and going into my fifth year of running as well.
Um, and I'm Eva. I'm a junior at SUNY Oneonta. And like Shane said, we're here to talk about injuries, which is funny because I sprained my ankle like 3 days ago. So it's fresh in my mind now.
I was thinking about that, how like it's not funny, but it's a little ironic at how we brought
Oh,
you on
it's
to talk about
funny.
injuries, and then immediately I see on Strava that you like did something to your ankle.
Oh, I was like thinking about that. I was like, what if I like injured myself before this happened? And I did. So I was like, yeah,
I mean, that was
it's
my
So how
okay.
first.
did that
Yeah,
how did that happen? Did you just go into a pothole? I saw your Strava picture where
Yeah.
your whole knee like all bloodied up.
Yeah, there was like a little gap between like the pavement and the grass where there was just nothing. And like I was running with one of my friends and we were turning off of a street and there was a car coming, so we pushed to the inside and I wasn't looking at the ground and my foot went directly in that one like little pothole and
oh,
like my ankle turned. I like fell and slid on the ground.
oh,
Yeah.
yikes.
You jinxed her.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
did.
our bad. So all right, we're gonna get right into. Well, before we get right into before we get right into the injury stuff specifically, I want to talk a little bit more about because you can't get injured while running without running first. So I want to talk about your guys' start in running and how you guys started.
I'll go first. So I started running my seventh grade year, modified cross country. I never ran modified track, but I was playing baseball at the time too, so I wasn't and wrestling, so I wasn't 100% sure what I was gonna do, but I fell in love with running. I was winning a lot of races, was doing really well. Ended up testing up for varsity in eighth grade, and the rest is pretty much history. I've been running for competitively for almost 10 years now, so yeah.
For me, I've like played sports all my life and like I always had like just a natural like talent for running and was always had like natural speed. And like in fifth and sixth grade, I did like a little fun run that like our school district runs. That was like the first time that was like I raced and I really enjoyed it. And like I got like a letter from like the modified cross country coach to do cross country. So I did cross country starting in seventh grade. I did track starting in eighth grade because I did AAU basketball my seventh grade year. So I wanted to do that instead of running. But then my eighth grade year, I did both. And then after that, I did just basically just did running from then on, just cross country, indoor, outdoor, and just have really fallen in love with it.
When I go quiet, that means Noah.
So Eva,
Yeah.
so Eva, can you talk about your first injury and then how you handled that?
Whew, let's see. My first injury I vaguely remember, I it was something with my calf like my freshman year of high school. But I've had like a bunch of like kind of like little injuries here and there, but like the first like major injury I can remember is when I had like let's see. I would say my first major injury was I had a stress reaction. I think it was senior year of indoor track, maybe. And I remember just cross training constantly and constantly. And I don't know. I think I was just what got me through it. I think I'm just like a determined person. I was just looking at the future and like looking that like I love running and I want to do good. And if I want to be able to do what I want to do running wise, I have to deal with this injury head on. I gotta do the cross training. I gotta do my rehab, and the rest will follow.
Yeah, and senior year is a big year for running. So how did you end up running after that? Did you recover and how long did that take?
Yeah, I remember I think I was out like the entire indoor season, but I was good for outdoor track. And I think it was like most of the season was pretty rocky. But I remember like our very last meet at state quals or 4x8, I ended up getting like a PR in the relay. So I was like, I peaked at the right time, even though like my season itself was kind of rocky. And I ended on a high note. So that's really that's all that matters, really.
Nice. And then we'll go to Shane. What was your first injury, if you can remember? I don't know, like I've like luckily crossed my fingers, knock on wood, has never really been injured to like
Me
the
too.
point where I haven't gotten taken out of running, or at least just like I pushed through it and didn't tell anyone where I probably should have. So Shane, what I don't know how many injuries you've had, but what was the first one you can remember, and then how do you handle that?
Yeah, the first one I can remember, I don't even know if it's even really considered an injury. I want to say it was my sophomore year of high school. I got bursitis in my knee, but it was enough to keep me out for like a week, but it didn't really affect running too much. So that didn't really affect the mental either. So there wasn't really like much to do dealing with it wise besides just taking some time off. Um, Other than that, I was pretty much healthy all throughout high school. But then once I got to college, the injuries just kept stacking up. Nothing as serious like a stress fracture like Eva had or anything like that, but enough to keep me out for a whole season of cross country pretty much. I think the first like bigger one was post tibialis pain. And I remember I was doing a river loop. And we were towards like the back once you start getting towards like the hotel, and I just started limping, and I had to walk like all the way back from then. So it was like at least a 3-4 mile walk from there, and it was brutal. One of our teammates at the time stopped and walked with me, but yeah, that was enough to. I believe it was during cross country, so that took me out of pretty much all of cross country at the time. And then since then, I haven't had a healthy cross country season yet, and it really plays a toll on the mental. But kind of like Eva said, wanting to keep running and stay into it, just doing cross training to push through it. But at the time, I always thought like, just rest, rest, rest. I didn't realize cross train was like the method of actually getting better too. So it was definitely a big adjustment at first, but wanting to stay in running and keep going forward and keep getting better, had to keep doing it.
Something I'm curious about, just for both of you, but I'm gonna go to Eva first, just specifically for something as big as a stress fracture. Um, what are those initial moments like when you are told for the first, like it is a stress fracture? Because like just mentally, how long do you allow yourself to be, down in the dumps or whatever until you're like right back on it? Or are you never even like, I'm just gonna get right back on the grind?
Um, I feel like this is kind of long ago, but I think I remember at first because I remember I started feeling symptoms like the end of like cross country season. Like I remember my last race, it was regionals at Bowdoin, and I remember I was like hobbling that whole race, and I was like I was in so much pain, and so it was like something that like started at the end of cross. So I think it was like in that gap between cross and like indoor when I found out that it was a stress reaction, and I was like initially like, oh, this sucks, especially because before then I only ran one indoor season because my freshman year I played basketball, and then junior year it was COVID, so I only ran indoor my sophomore year, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna miss another indoor season. But again, I think for me, I think it was kind of just like that initial like, damn, this sucks. Like I'm gonna miss a whole season probably. But then it was kind of just like again, like right back on the grind because I was like, I if I want to run, I gotta do what I gotta do. I gotta do my rehab, gotta cross train, stay in shape somewhat. And yeah, I feel like just what helps me is kind of just looking towards the goal, which is running, just like putting feet on the pavement. And I feel like that's what really helped me push through.
Think Bowdoin's a rough course to get shirt on.
Yeah.
The place sucks. But I guess same thing, Shane, in terms of just when you first get news about things that'll keep you out for a while.
Yeah, so I mean, initial reaction is always a little bit of panic. Like you don't really know like how long you're going to be out. So I guess the first initial question you ask like a trainer or somebody is how long, and sometimes they'll have like a round answer of how long you'll be out, and then you can kind of reassess from there and see if there's a need to panic or not, or maybe it's just they can't really give you an answer. It's just see how it progresses. But yeah, usually for me, it's a bit of like, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world type situation. But then after like a week of rehabbing, you realize like you'll be back before you know it, and it's not necessarily the end of the world. So I find it almost like steps you take mentally. So first it's always like, this sucks. I don't want to be hurt. I want to be running. And then you realize like it just gets better and better as you go on. Even cross training though, like it's hard because you almost have to be more disciplined to cross train than you do running, I feel like, because it's so much harder to like get on a bike for 60 minutes rather than running for 60 minutes because you're with people when you're running while you're on the bike by yourself. So, I never actually look forward to cross training because I'd much rather be running and it's so much harder to cross train. But like Eva said, if you want to run, you got to get your rehab done.
Yeah, so Shane and Lucas, you both know that I have like a fear of going to trainers, right? I've never been there once. So like my question is, how do you muster up like I believe it takes courage to like admit that you have an injury. Like I can gaslight myself and be like, "Oh, my Achilles pain isn't real." Like I don't have to tell anyone about this. Like what because like I feel like I've done that especially in high school where it's like I had pain, in back or my Achilles and I just didn't tell anyone. And then my coach is like, "Oh, why'd you run a 20-minute 5K?" It's like, I wasn't feeling good, So, I guess how do you know? Is that just like, okay, I'm injured, I have to tell someone? Because I feel like when I have injury, it's just like, I don't like the fear of not running and getting better kind of outweighs the fear of getting healthy again, if that makes sense. So like for you
Mhm.
guys, what does that like where's the line for you? Or have you guys just gotten to a point where it's like, okay, I have a little pain, like it's a 3 out of 10. I gotta tell someone about it and just nip it right there. I'll start with Eva.
Um, I understand that fear. I was like that a lot throughout high school and still a little bit now, just because the trainers is so time consuming, like once you're there. But I remember in high school, I remember I did put off like a lot of little things. I was like, oh, like this will just get better in a week, like it will go away. But then it didn't, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And then I think I reached a point because I always like a lot of my injuries in high school, like I have like major serious ones besides like stress reaction, but like I had like kind of a bunch I think it was like I had like maybe 2 seasons where I was completely healthy, and all the other ones I had like I had like little things. And I came to a point where I realized where I was like, I have to go to the trainer. I can't put this off anymore because every time I do, I just get worse. And I got a point like now in college, if I now that I know my body more, now that I've been like injured so much, like I know what is trainer worthy and what I can try to work on. Like usually I'll like Google like how to help Achilles pain first, and like I'll like do some stuff on my own. And if that doesn't work, then I'll go to the trainer. But I think it sucks, but you have to take that initial step because the more you run on an injury, the worse it's going to get. You can put it off as much as you want and say like, "Oh, it's going to get better. Oh, this isn't real." But then it is real, and then it gets worse, and instead of being out for a week, you're out for 3 weeks. And that's just kind of what I think.
Yeah, Shane, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah. So for me, that I understand the fear as well. I mean, I remember my first time I ever had to go to the trainers. The trainers were getting a bit of a bad rep our freshman year just because there was a lot of stuff going down that kind of affected everybody's mindset towards the trainers. So I remember like I that post hip injury was like the first one where I didn't have a choice. I kind of had to go to the trainers because it was so bad. But you talk to the coaches first and they kind of tell you to go down there. And the first time going down there definitely is nerve-wracking because you don't know what they're going to tell you. You don't know the trainers yet. But I find that now it's so much easier to go down there because you create a relationship with the trainers while you're in there. Especially being in there so often. Like they know you, you know them. It's a nicer environment once you're used to it. But I mean, hopefully nobody ever gets to that point where they have to get used to being in the trainers unless it's for like just casual, like going in there to talk to them or just checking up on things here and there. But yeah, I mean, the first time is definitely super scary because you don't know what's going to happen and you don't know if they're going to tell you to not run for the rest of the season or whatever. But it definitely gets easier, like the more time you're spending in there. But definitely always talk to Coach Kelly or Coach Chris first, see what they have to say because sometimes they'll give you like a drill to do and that might just help originally. I can also relate to Eva with the Google searches as well. I think it's just every athlete will Google search, what their pain is and kind of how to fix it before going to talk to somebody. But ultimately, I've kind of just resorted to being comfortable enough to talk to the coaches and the trainers about everything.
Yeah, and I like what you
Yeah,
said about getting comfortable with the trainers because honestly, like the trainers is time consuming, but like I found myself having a lot of fun in there, like talking to the trainers, talking to the other athletes in there. Like I remember when I was out in cross in my walking boot, Lauren was the one who was there in the morning and she was the one who did like the daily questions. And I remember always doing those in the morning. So you can create some fond memories in the trainer, but
Yeah,
hopefully you don't have to.
they make it fun to be in there for sure.
well, it's good to know. And like you said, like the more you go, or if you take that first step to actually go, then you learn your body more, and then you actually know what to look for, and you know the exercises to do. Because like Eva, like I've definitely Googled a couple times,
hmm
at the end of track and like this summer, like why is my Achilles hurting, and like I've looked up like how I can
hmm
do that, and I've started doing stretches. Like it doesn't hurt now, but just as like precautionary prehab, I've been starting to do
hmm
like these
Yeah.
Achilles stretches just to be more mindful of. Mr. Lucas, you got anything?
Yeah, I do actually. I just wanted to make sure you were done. I don't know about you guys in high school, but piggybacking off what you guys said about the being in the trainers, it's a fun atmosphere sometimes. Every trainer I've ever like had experience with, it's only been two, but still, they're just the nicest people ever. Like they just have a habit of being like the nicest people, and I think that's such a great skill and quality for trainers to have because if you have a mean trainer, that makes it all the much more difficult um to even want to go in there. But uh like Noah said, I am also of that mindset of thank God I've never had a serious injury. So one thing I want to ask you guys about is on the way back, on the recovery road back, and once you're ready to start racing again, how can you guys build up and have the confidence to race almost as if it never happened, or race like you have your full fitness back, maybe even if you missed a training block or something like that? Because I've always wondered how can people who got injured have that confidence even though they missed all that time? Like I know I probably would be like terrified. So I'm just curious what you guys think on that.
Yeah.
Um,
Or
you can go
I
first.
should have
I've been going first all the
specified.
time.
Sorry.
all
You
right,
can go
I'll go
first,
first.
Shane.
So a lot of it is mental. Like the confidence you build up, obviously all mental, but trying to act like it was never there is kind of impossible to do. It's always going to be in the back of your head. But it's just a matter of taking things super slow. Like even building up mileage, going to do workouts, like everything is way slower than it normally would be. You're jumping like maybe 3 to 5 miles a week until you hit your max mileage, it seems like sometimes, or until you're about like halfway there. But like that first 3 or 4 weeks of coming back is always just super slow into it, just mileage. And then so you'll hit like some small tempo workouts every now and then. But yeah, the confidence part of it, it's always going to be in the back of your head, at least for the first like week or two. And it's just a matter of trying to push it away, even though it can be very difficult sometimes. But yeah, I mean, the confidence kind of just comes with the weeks stacking up and, trying to put it in the past.
Yeah, I definitely do agree that it's a mental thing. Like after like my injury in cross and getting back, I was like that those initial few weeks were very difficult because I was constantly comparing myself to the other girls on the team. Because I was like looking at my training group that I was with like during cross before I got injured. And I was like, man, they're doing all these great things. They're racing so well. And I just like kept thinking about like what could have been if I didn't get injured. I'm like, no, if I didn't get injured, I could have been with these girls running up there, like doing all these great things. And I wasn't. And I remember like that was like constantly through my mind. And I remember my first race back in indoor, I raced terribly and I was like, okay. I like put my feet down, I put my hands out, I was like, so I gotta change something mentally. And I was like thinking, as you know what, like dwelling about like what could have been and like what my career could like what my season could have been if I didn't get injured isn't gonna get me to where I can be. And that's not gonna do me any good. So I just had a mindset switch. I was like, okay, what can I do today to make me a better runner tomorrow? Because I'm a very big picture runner. And like I think about the big goals that I want and I realized I couldn't do that because I wasn't in the shape to do that. So I was like, focusing on like the little things, like what can I do today to get me better, make me better runner tomorrow, and like focusing on those like little things each and every day, like just going for a run, being passionate about it, trying to get a good workout in, doing my stretching, rolling out, doing rehab, like each and every day, and like just taking those baby steps and not really looking too far into the future and not really looking at the past, just focusing in the moment. That's what really helped me, and I think got me to start racing well. And yeah.
Yeah, I wanna actually add
Yes.
on to that real quick. Because you said something that kind of sparked in my head. The comparing yourself to other people, like that is so common, and that sometimes is the hardest thing to get past after an injury, is because you know where you're supposed to be if you didn't get hurt, and you see other people
Mm-hmm.
succeeding, and you kind of want to put yourself in their shoes because you know you're supposed to be up there, and like
Mm-hmm.
what you could have been doing. So that's for me sometimes is the hardest part coming back off an injury.
Yeah. It's all about that mindset. You have to change that mindset because if you're dwelling about that, you're not going to get any better. You're just going to I feel like you're going to put yourself into a bigger hole, and you just can't think about that. It's hard, but it's a mindset switch that you have to like gradually reach towards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is there an urge once you're injured and coming back to just go and slam a bunch of mileage because you know what you could have been? And like, how do you fight that
Hmm.
urge to just like
Yeah.
tell the coaches to like, no, I'm gonna do my own thing and like I want to get good, I want to reach my goals. I could be
Hmm.
here if I didn't get injured. How
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I remember when I was first getting back from my injury, like the trainers were kind of giving me like some like mileage that like wasn't like realistic. It was like too much. It was like do 15 and do 25 and do 35 and do an hour, and I was like this is not how we run, that's not how we train. So it's kind of like on my own in that regard. And I remember I was like so tempted to just like keep going and like run every day, and I was like I had to put the brakes on a little bit because you have to realize like if you go back too fast, you're gonna injure yourself again. And like I would just have that in the back of my mind. I was like, if I do like a 5 mile run today, I'm gonna be back in the trainers. So I just like kept telling myself that because if you go, it's really tempting to go back so fast because you want to be back out there, you want to, but it's not realistic and it can put you right back to where you started if you're doing too much too fast.
Yeah, and for people that are constantly in the trainers or getting injured, for you guys, what are some of your best injury prevention tips to tell those people being injured yourself? Is it like more
Mm.
sleep, more nutrition? Like, what are some things you learned from the trainers and just your own experience to, battle through injury and to prevent it?
I'd say mainly just making sure you stick to your rehab is obviously the most important thing, and that's kind of basic to say. But we're gonna sound like a broken record here, but like mental, like just staying confident in
Mm.
yourself and knowing that like it's not the end of the world, and it gets better. I guess obviously hydration, sleep could all improve it as well. But I mean, when it's like a bone or a muscle, like I don't know necessarily if sleep or hydration or eating well is necessarily gonna 100% fix that. It could probably improve it, but I don't know the science behind that. Um, but yeah, it's mainly mental for the most part. I feel like to just kind of stick through it and just stay motivated, stay disciplined, and just keep doing everything that you're supposed to do.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree. And making sure you're doing like the little things, like again, like your rehab, but also rolling out, stretching, mobility, that can help a lot. And yeah, and just being also aware of not doing too much because that can also do it. Because I know like as runners, sometimes we're tempted to like up our mileage a little bit and like think think you can get away with it, and then sometimes you do a little too much, and then your legs hurting, and now, but just doing the little things I think matters a lot.
Definitely.
Eva, you brought something up about like maybe when the trainers tell you something that maybe isn't like, not the way you train or something like that. How do you guys deal? Because it made me think of how do you guys deal when maybe, trainer says one thing, coaches say another thing, maybe a teammate says another thing, when maybe you're getting conflicting advice from like all over the place. Like, how do you stay true to like what you think is working for you when everybody's telling you different things?
For me, I've actually had like this exact moment where the trainers told me to do one thing and it was like a really little amount. And then I went to Chris or Kelly afterwards and they told me to do something different, I'll always kind of go off of what they say and then hope I feel good still instead of taking it super slow back. Because obviously you want to do more. And usually the coaches will tell you to just do a tad bit more. So I usually go off what they say. If a teammate ever says something, which normally doesn't happen, you kind of just have to put that, I guess, like think about
I
it.
can
But
think of a couple teammates who would say something.
well, yeah, I mean, but you kind of just put it in the back of your head for injury wise, just kind of let them talk, and you got to stick to like your own kind of process and just listen to what the coaches and the trainers are telling you because they know the most.
Yeah, I think I've probably, if there's conflicting advice, I feel like I've probably relied more on coaches just because I have a better relationship with them, and also they know me and like my body and just like my running habits more. So they're usually the ones that there's conflicting advice I would lean more towards. And also they just know more about running because I feel like I've throughout even like since high school I've experienced that like a lot of the trainers don't have great experience on running, and like I feel like a lot of them are kind of geared towards other sports. So sometimes like they'll say something about running and I'll like turn my head and I'm like that doesn't seem right. So I usually like rely on the coaches a little bit more, or sometimes like I'll rely a little bit on myself because like I know my body and I know what I can handle. And I've like come back from serious injuries before, and I remember like when I was coming back from my injury, I was going through my Strava and I was like, how did I come back from my last injury? And kind of follow that route.
Yeah, I remember in high school, where I would be talking to our trainer and I'd overhear other conversations where he'd be like, "Yeah, you can practice today," and the person would be like, "Well, I have a workout today," and he's like, "Oh, don't do that." He's like, "Well, that's practice," and it's like, "Well, then maybe easier." He just doesn't know.
Hmm.
So it gets kind of conflicting. Um, Crap, I've asked a lot of questions. Noah, you can go.
So, Eva, obviously you're injured in cross country, but you ended up having a very successful track season. Can you break us down, some of your more meaningful races in track and how that felt?
I remember my first big race, like good race, was like the first 800 I ran in indoor. And it was like that first race that I ran after like a terrible mile. And that's why like I literally put no pressure on myself. And I was like, I'm just gonna go out there and run. And I literally was like, I can run sub 240. I'll be happy. And I ended up running like a 228. And I was like, I finished. And I was like, what? And I like that was something that stuck out to me. And I've raced really consistently around like that 228 range throughout like indoor. And then Suniac's indoor when we won the DMR, that stuck out to me. I didn't race particularly well, but the team we won, and I was like, it was just one of my favorite racing experiences ever. And then um, an outdoor, honestly, I feel like I didn't race like I have like really great races until like the end of the season. Like I remember we raced at RPI was when I ran like a 224, and it was like after I was running like god awful 800s, and I had like that one really good race. And it was just like I feel like for me it was all about just putting the pieces together because I was like it was really hard for me to put all of them together throughout like all of like indoor and outdoor. Like I feel like I would have like a good race and then a couple really bad ones and a really good race and a couple really bad ones. And it was all just about just sticking with it, and like because I was in an odd position coming back from injury and then going into like mid distance running, and it was like I don't know, it was just kind of like odd training coming into it, and I was um just so I just had like a few really good races that I feel like those were the ones that propelled me, and I even when I had my bad ones I was like another good one's coming, and it did. So
So did those like wins and those PBs and those great races feel extra sweeter coming off of those injuries, or did it just feel like you
oh
deserved it?
oh definitely, yeah, I was like when I had that first like really like a 228 and like indoor, even though I wasn't like a PR, I was still like like that's great. And then I ran the 224 RPI, which is like an open 800 best, and I was like okay, like it was like those things feel really good, especially like beat racing very inconsistently after being injured. Like sometimes you're like, oh, was that a fluke? Like, and when you race really good and have a couple like really bad races, but it just shows that you just gotta just trust the process. Sometimes the process isn't linear. I think sometimes you think it is, like you're just gonna keep getting better, but it's not linear. And it was just putting trust in my training, putting trust in my teammates, and that, but in just putting it all out there.
Stay the course, as Jared Smith would say.
I was gonna say it kind of sounded like a
Yeah.
Jared Smith thing.
Yeah. So Shane, again, for you, you're injured during cross country, but then you ended up having some races in track. How did track season go for you?
Yeah, so I was thinking about how I was going to answer the question while Eva was going to. I'm going to start with cross country first, actually. It was 2 years ago, the year before you guys came. I was injured all throughout the season, but started building up like just at the perfect time where I might be able to race at SUNYX for cross country. And, it's a confidence booster when you haven't raced any cross country race beforehand, except for a really bad first meet of the season because you were hurt. And then the coach just still felt confident enough to put you on a SUNYAC lineup. I mean, it kind of stinks at the same time because it's nice that you get to race, but you feel like you took a spot from somebody who deserved it, who was healthy all season. But I mean, it's a confidence booster hearing that the coaches were confident enough to put me on the lineup, for my first race back, and then being able to race well enough. The time wasn't good, but being able to race well enough on the team to qualify for regionals as well on the team as an alternate, which was pretty cool. Coming right off injury and seeing immediate payoff almost. Not that the times were great, but just placement on the team was still there right after coming back from injury. But for track, I remember a specific comeback where I was hurt most of indoor, at least for the end of it, I think it was. And I was building up and for some reason decided let's run the 10K this season. Like I think I got that in me. And with injury build up, I built up to maybe around 50. So not enough mileage to do a 10K, but still ran like a 33:30, qualified for SUNYX in there too, kind of out of nowhere, almost PR'd in my 5K during the 10K. And that was all almost coming off injury. I think it was either early or mid indoor season that I got hurt. And I'm not sure if I raced the end of or the end of indoor that year, but coming back and just being able to have a really good build up to be able to run a SUNYAC qualifying time, like in the 10K on 50 miles, just showed it was pretty sweet that it paid off and, perfect build up almost. And those moments are definitely really, really sweet because, everything paid off, the patience and just being patient was what was key to kind of seeing success in the future.
I'll go. Okay. Going on the complete opposite end of that spectrum, I want to talk about when you guys are at your lowest moments injury wise, like at this point where you're like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if you've ever gotten to that point, but just like the absolute lowest points, how did you get yourself out of that? And what advice would you give to people who are maybe at that point themselves? I'll start with Eva. I wanted to say that to start with someone.
Okay. Well, the interesting thing is, like for me, because I joined my freshman year, I joined the team late because I initially wasn't gonna run in college, but Coach Kelly realized I was on campus, reached out to me like, "Hey, want to join the team?" And I remember like one thing I was worried about running in college was getting injured again because I was so injury prone in high school. And I remember one thing I told myself, I was like, if I get another serious injury, I'm quitting. I was like, I'm done. And then when I this cross country this year, when I was in a walking boot, I was like, I told myself I was gonna quit. And I was like, I think I might have thought about it like slightly, but it was, I don't know. I feel like for me it was just looking to, again, I've been saying this like the entire time, but just like looking for the future. And I was like, especially because I told myself I was gonna quit when this happened, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna quit. I was like, as long as I can get my feet on the pavement again, get my feet on a track again, that's all that matters. And I feel like that's something that I was kind of pushing me through. I was just like, let me just get to the point where I can put my feet on the pavement again. And I think that was what helped me. I think just again, just like looking towards like what I want to do because like I had like another reason why I joined running again, running in college, because I feel like I had a lot of unfinished business from high school. I had a few goals that I didn't achieve, and I was like, now that I have the opportunity to, I want to try to hit those goals again. And I can't do that if I quit. I can't do this if I put my foot, if I like throw it all away right now. I have to work and I have to do my rehab. I have to go to the trainers for an hour every single day. But I have to cross train on the damn stationary bike that I literally hate now. I can't stand the stationary bike anymore. But it's like you have to go through those hard times to get better. It makes honestly, it makes you so much stronger. Like being like, damn, I was on the stationary bike for like 7 weeks straight. If I can do that, I can literally do anything.
Yeah,
I
top
also
that, Shane.
oh, I was gonna say I also hate the stationary bike first. We'll start with that. But
Mm,
just because spending so much time on that, it really does suck.
oh, it's awful.
Your butt is killing you at the end of it. You want to be done. But yeah. At my lowest, I'm a pretty anxious and instant gratification type person. So I get in my head big time when I'm at my lowest.
Mhm.
I think every single time I've gotten hurt, I say I'm quitting. I don't want to do it anymore. Like I can't stand another build up. I'm not gonna PR. Like just everything bad that could happen is running through my head. And it's sometimes I tell myself it's gonna take forever because I want to get better like right away. It's like for everything, I'm instant gratification. So yeah, I mean, but I think the biggest thing to help me build myself out of those deep spots is living through my teammates. I
Mhm.
channel the mindset of I want to see them succeed and I want to almost live through their shoes. And I kind of did that this outdoor season too when I cut my season short. Not that I was hurt, I just wasn't where I was and where I wanted to be. But I'm very good at being able to channel a better mindset after being in a really bad one and trying to force myself to see good. And I think having my teammates and living through my teammates and seeing them succeed is what drives me to come back stronger because I want to succeed like they were.
Great point.
Yeah, so for both of you, summer training has started now, and I'm seeing on Shane, especially like every run, you're mentioning your foot, and then Eva, obviously, we talked about your Strava post earlier. How's summer training going for you? It's just starting out now. Go with Eva first.
Well, it was going like really well. I did roll my other ankle a few weeks ago walking with my friend, but that like I like took like 1 day off for that. And then like I started consistently running again. I've been honestly like all my runs that I've had so far have been like really good. I felt really good on them. I haven't really felt had a run where I felt like completely and utterly out of shape besides like maybe like my first one. And I don't know, I was going really strong until I sprained my ankle, but it's getting better now. And I went on the stationary bike today and I actually enjoyed it. So I'm going to be doing that for probably the next couple of days. I'm hoping that I can start running again by the end of the week, but I'm going to stay patient because, like I've been saying, if you go back too fast and if you go back too early, it might put me in a bit of a pickle. I'm just going to stay patient. It's early in the season, so I'm just going to let my ankle heal completely, then start running again, and hopefully it's as good as my first couple weeks.
Yeah, impressive that you enjoyed your time on the stationary bike.
I
Who would
know.
have thought? Who would have thought? But yeah, I had a little foot issue going on. I think I was in my head more than it actually was. It definitely hurt a bit. It was bearable enough to kind of run through, but I for a very short time dug myself into one of those really deep holes where I'm like, if it's serious, I'm quitting. Like I'm serious this time. I'm not going through this again. But then it got better after I talked to Chris and he gave me some drills to do and talked to Coach Kelly as well. Um, so yeah, that's been great. I haven't felt that in about maybe half a week, even a little bit. So I'm feeling great. Summer training's been awesome so far, trying to stay on top of mobility and GS and everything to not get hurt again because I obviously don't want to go through that. But knock on wood that we're doing pretty good so far and that we're gonna stay healthy the rest of the season.
Yeah, and Shane, I guess I don't really know how to word this question, but you did mention earlier that you cut your season short. And I remember you telling me earlier. It was just kind of like, I mean, it's something that I struggled with too, and I was talking to people about it. It was just like the lack of like a competitive edge. And I'm wondering, because I'm still questioning myself. It's like when it starts to hurt in a race, like do I have that competitive edge to like keep on going? Um, for you, what have you theorized so far taking that break from track? What are some things that you're starting to think about moving into cross that you can do better?
Yeah, so ironically, I could actually kind of relate it back to when I've been injured as well, because I kind of just take that time to visualize and kind of see where I can be in the future. Um, for me, so far, I don't regret taking or cutting my season short. I think it was the right move because, I that was the longest I've gone actually being healthy in the span of a year. I was healthy almost the entire year, besides the beginning of cross country. So I think I just wasn't used to running really at that much since high school. So, I think I once I realized that, I was like, shoot, maybe I made the wrong decision. But, you know, looking back on it, definitely not the wrong decision overall. But so far this summer, I've been trying to push myself through runs mentally, almost trying to mentally train myself a little bit more so that doesn't happen again. Like the other day, I had a pretty decent long run. Well, long run, 9 miles. I guess it could be a long run, but yeah, I remember I was feeling like pain just because I was going a little faster, and I was just telling myself, like keep pushing. You have to go through with it, stuff like that. Just easy stuff that you can tell yourself during your run, but really trying to stick to it. And I think that's going to help in the long run too with the competitive edge as well. Wanting to constantly stay engaged, stay focused, all that stuff. And I've been trying to do that pretty much on every run when it's something I'm not necessarily enjoying. Everybody goes through those slumps while they're running where they're just like, wow, I want to be done. And I'm just trying to remind myself, to stay with it because it's all going to pay off in the end.
Yeah, and I've been trying to like mentally harden myself, I guess you could say, for these summer runs. Like, especially just like telling myself, okay, go easy enough to a point where you don't even think about stopping, but like go hard to a point where you're getting good training too. And also, I don't know, something that's helped for me on these summer runs that I think will hopefully sharpen my mind a little bit is I haven't been listening to music at all during my runs. I've listened to, besides the first week, I think I've listened to music like twice. Um, and I found that I'm just like, I don't know, I'm actually focusing on my running form and like not being lazy with it without music. And that's just something that helps. And hopefully that can correlate into just being like just 1% more mentally tough during races.
Yeah, I think that's something that I actually spoke to Jarsky about as well, because he kind of talked about mindset and how, you're not going to have music during a race. So kind of putting yourself in that kind of environment during your workouts or your just easy runs. Like I don't remember the last time I ran with music in unless I was on a treadmill. So yeah, I try not to ever listen to music while I'm running to almost channel like a race mindset sometimes in a sense.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm really impressed. If I'm alone, I can't. I just physically can't. I've tried a couple times, and when I do successfully go no music, it's nice, I guess. But anytime I'm running without music, I'm thinking I wish at this moment. But that's why I really enjoy, because I don't really enjoy that, but I really enjoy running with people this summer, and with different people. And I live in a place where I'm really fortunate to have like a lot of people like I can run with. So I just rotate running buddies. But that's impressive, honestly, guys. I'm gonna say to run like without
Hmm.
music, honestly, especially for like the longer stuff as well.
I find myself trying to channel the environment and pay more attention to my surroundings and just, realizing how beautiful of a day it is out or something like that, putting my mind other places when I don't want to be in a race mindset and don't want to listen to music.
Do you have those thoughts of like, or no thoughts really, where, or maybe you're thinking so much that like a mile went by and you didn't even realize it? That's what I try to channel in my no music runs, but it's
Every
difficult
now
to
and then,
get to.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
every now and then I'll
meditation
have that.
almost.
Yeah, I definitely have experienced that before.
Yeah, I think like my 9 mile long run, the first 6 miles, I don't think I had a single thought. I just was like completely on autopilot. And then like 6 miles in, I saw people that I knew. And then I just like mentally woke up and I was like, whoa, I have thoughts now. Like I'm running. It was kind of weird. Um, what was I gonna say? But there was definitely another run earlier on, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, where like I wasn't listening to music, but I just couldn't. It was almost annoying because my mind just like wouldn't turn off. Like I was like legit telling my mind like, why are you yapping right now? Shut up, be quiet. And I just like, I don't know. Eva, do you listen to music when you run?
I always listen to music, but like honestly, there's sometimes like my mind wanders a lot when I run, and there's sometimes where I'm listening to music, but I'm not like listening to it. It's kind of just
Yeah,
background noise.
that's
Like
happened.
sometimes like a song will finish, and I'm like, wait, what song was I just listening to? Like I just like I don't know. Like honestly, like I've done some runs with no music, and like they've been nice. Like I'm not gonna lie, they are nice. But like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like there's like not much of a difference. Like even sometimes when I'm running with people and I'm like not in the conversation, my mind just wanders. And like literally, that's like I feel like that's every single run. If I'm running with music, running with people, and I'm not like currently talking, or I'm running by myself with no music, I feel like my mindset is like the same. It's just thoughts all over the map, and I don't know.
I
I
found what helps me is when like the best time I'm able to do no music is when I'm running with a group of people and then I have like more than them and then they split off and then I just have like turf laps by myself or something by
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Then I've already been in that zone and I can be fine with it.
hmm
But
Yeah.
besides that, it's difficult. Noah, you got any other burning questions? 'Cause I have one more burning question.
Okay, you can let that fly.
Okay, it's burning. It's hot.
All right.
Um, so if you guys could go back and talk to yourselves the day before your biggest injury, what would you say to yourselves?
Hmm.
I will start with whoever wants to start first.
I can try.
Hmm.
Um, I have no clue what I would say because I don't remember if I was hurting the day before or whatever. I don't know if it was just like a sudden like pain. I would assume I was hurting a little while before. So, I'd tell myself, I guess I wouldn't even talk to my if I extend this to talking to myself like a week beforehand.
Yeah, you can choose a timeline, I guess. Whatever's going to help you most.
Yeah. So I guess a week beforehand, right when I was feeling that pain, I'd tell myself, go talk to somebody because I think my first injury was that post hip injury, like I said. And I think I didn't talk to anybody beforehand. I just kind of thought I could run through it. And you can't, you got to go get help when you can. So I think I'd tell myself to, go talk to the coaches and see what they tell you to do and go down to the trainers because what's the worst that could happen? You're out for a week rather than a whole season.
Um, I think I would just tell myself to just stay patient. And I'm like particularly thinking of like this past cross country season because I was out for so long, and it's just be patient, trust the process, do what you need to do because it will get you to where you need to be. It's gonna take a long time, and you're gonna be on that stationary bike for way too long, but you just got to stick with it and be patient because everything will fall in line eventually. But you just gotta do what you need to do.
Stay the course, as a wise
Stay the
man once
course.
said.
Yeah, so I don't have any other questions. Do you want to do rapid fire
Yeah, you
questions?
saw
I'm
that I
down.
wrote that. You saw that I wrote that down, right?
Oh, I
Um,
didn't,
oh, I wrote
but
that down.
we're
Uh,
thinking.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. We forgot to do it with Jared, but we were just ripping with Jared. So I mean, we can do it with them. I think it'd be fun.
I'm down. Okay. I haven't asked this one in a while. My famous question.
Yeah, do it.
And I really want to hear Shane and Eva's answers. So, biggest animal you could take on in a fight. What do
Mm.
you got?
Dog.
What
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 kind
kind?
kind
of
of dog?
dog?
Um, no bigger than a German Shepherd.
Mm.
So, you think you could take down a German Shepherd?
That's what I'm thinking. I don't think you can.
I don't know necessarily a German Shepherd, but a German Shepherd sized dog of a different breed, probably.
Like a cute dog
German
that
Shepherds are
doesn't have sharp teeth.
like a
Like a
lab.
poodle.
A lab, I could take down a lab, but
Okay.
German Shepherds are tough.
For me, huh? I don't know. I'm thinking of like a raccoon. Like I think like a raccoon or like something adjacent to it. I think I could definitely take that down. But anything bigger, I think I'd be a little scared because some of these like something like a dog, like they're small but they're feisty. Like they could really give you one if you're not prepared. I don't think I could. I think a raccoon's the biggest I can deal with.
Also, just to throw it out there, I don't want to take out a dog. I love dogs.
I was imagining that in my head, just Shane like putting a
Wailing on a dog.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
putting
started
a
picturing
dog in
my
a
head too.
chokehold.
I started picturing my head too. I was like, I can't do that. Nope.
Should have picked a different animal.
God, I
Um,
could.
I don't want to spark a heated debate, although I totally do. Best season to run in.
Indoor track.
That's not what I meant. I meant, sorry, that was a misleading question. Like spring,
That's an L
fall.
take though, Shane.
It isn't actually. I like that take a lot. You know what? That'll be the next one. But spring, like spring, fall, winter. The other one. Crap. What's the third? What's the fourth season?
Summer.
Spring, fall, winter.
Summer. Yeah,
Beginning
you
of
guys know
spring.
the seasons.
Beginning of spring.
Mm. I think mine's just fall, straight up. All of fall.
Okay. And then favorite like track or cross country, which do you like better?
And give a
Mm.
specific track if it's track.
Indoor track.
Interesting.
Oh,
That's a hot
third
take,
place
and I
for
actually
me.
love it. I love that take, Shane.
Terrible take.
I can explain, but we'll let Eva
Yeah,
answer
go.
first. Let Eva
No, no,
Okay.
no.
answer.
Let Eva go first.
Okay.
I've always said that I like the season itself and like the overall environment of cross country the best, but I love racing an outdoor track the most.
See,
I love that take.
that's a perfect take. Shane's
Mm.
take is a blazing, and I totally agree with it actually. But I have a reason too. But I want to hear your reason.
So outdoor is the most boring. I'll give you that one.
Ooh.
Outdoor's the worst. Cross country is great because towards championship season the energy starts to pile up and you're with your team. So that's kind of what draws us
Mm.
to that. But what makes indoors the best is it's inside and everything echoes. So if there's
Ooh.
people cheering, like it gets loud in there. Like I remember in high school, I would race at West Point and it would be packed in there and it's just so loud. The environment's crazy. You feel like you're at such a big meet for every single meet you're at, even if it's just like a small little like dual meet, even or not. Well, tri meet I think was the smallest I ran at indoor, and it still was super hectic and just I love hearing people yell and just racing and hearing super loud noises. Like it's just the best for me.
Considering the state that we live in, I'm surprised people say outdoor track because like the majority of those meets are freaking cold. And that was my rude
Mhm.
awakening to like upstate track this year. Like every race except SUNYX was the worst weather-wise. Like maybe one
Mhm.
meet. But my reasoning for indoor is because I was always playing baseball. So when I did my first season of track, it was indoor and I didn't do outdoor. I was playing baseball. And I'm really lucky in that all of our meets were just at the Armory. So my
Mm.
only introduction and my only knowledge of track was just the Armory, which is I'm really spoiled, but like I think that's kind of understandable as to, if that's my only taste of it, that's why I loved it so much. And spring was like a big adjustment for me.
I also always
Yeah.
ran indoor as well, so that's kind of also why I think I pick indoor. But
I don't know. I see what you say about outdoor because outdoor is always like the worst weather, but honestly, it builds character. I think some of my favorite like outdoor track memories are those absolutely treacherous meets where just it's pouring and it's cold, but like those were honestly looking back, those were probably the most fun meets in retrospect.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. It's just in the moment racing it. I see
Oh,
what
in
you
the
mean.
moment, it's awful, but it's great looking back at.
hmm But like just waiting around for 2 hours before your race and you can't go inside,
Mhm.
that took me
Yeah.
out this year. All right, that one always takes so much time, but I love it.
So I have a question for Shane. Well, one question kind of like a diss, but Shane, what's your favorite disc in your disc golf bag?
oh, my favorite disc. That's a really tough question because I love them all. But right now, probably uh, shoot, I wasn't prepared for this. Probably my buzz, my mid-range buzz. I've been throwing it really well. I've been getting a lot of birdies with it recently. We'll go with that.
You know what was on my mind? A buzz, because I played the other day and my brother found one in the woods. It was a pink one, and then he gave it to me, and I tried it out today, first time throwing it, and I'm like, wow,
Best
this thing is
mid-range of
actually
all
good.
time.
Yeah,
Best
it's
mid-range
awesome.
of all time.
And then my diss is, how does it feel having like that terribly bandwagon themed room, Cowboys and Yankees? Like that's insane.
My grandpa grew up loving the Cowboys and the Yankees and the Rangers. I just don't have very much Rangers stuff in my room, but yeah, I just follow whatever my family roots for, and I don't regret it at all. I love the Cowboys. I love the Yankees. I'll stick by them forever.
Boo Cowboys.
I could go on a rant about this for so long, but I'm
Go
not going
Packers.
to.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
that's not what I was
terrible.
Oh,
expecting
you're
at
a
all.
Packers
That
fan.
Oh
came out of
God.
nowhere.
Eva, how did that
Yeah,
happen?
what?
My So my brother's name is Brett, and when he was younger, my parents gave him Brett Favre jerseys because they had the same name. And when I was younger, I took them. So that's how I became a Packers fan.
That's respectable, I will say. It's better than
Yeah,
a lot of the people who are like, "Oh, I root for this team because LeBron," and it's like,
Mhm.
out of the
okay,
Cowboys division, I think the Packers might be my least favorite team right now.
Wow, that hurts.
did you say Cowboys division? But the Packers aren't in the Cowboys division.
Exactly. That's why I said
Oh,
outside.
out of my bad.
Oh,
I
I've
said in.
I've misread that too.
Yeah. Um,
My bad.
okay. I'm gonna hit you guys with the favorite pro runner.
I don't even really follow pro running. I'll be honest, but
I had a feeling you'd say something like that.
I'm gonna go with the local shout out Martin Hare because he was from Washingtonville, and following somebody from your hometown that is a pro runner is awesome.
Very cool.
I'm gonna say Sydney McLaughlin.
I like that pick.
Okay.
My last question is, if you're on like a 10-meter high dive, looking into Olympic-sized pool, not filled with water, what substance would you want to be jumping into? Like a fun substance you'd think you'd be
Hmm.
like, okay, like I want to jump into that.
I would want to jump in, like, what those gymnastic places, they have like those like cubes, like those styrofoam, not styrofoam,
Like
those
the
like foam
foam.
cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that. I remember having birthday parties at gymnastics places, and that was like my favorite thing in the world, and I miss jumping in them. So,
You see, I'm having a really hard time deciding what's the safest thing to jump into because everything I picture, I'm just going straight down and I'm dying. So I guess I'm gonna go with the cubes as well. I know it's not fun to pick off Eva, but like I think I'd be most safe in
um,
that. Like I don't know what else would. I was trying to think of another liquid, but I think every jumping into anything other than water is kind of nasty.
Yeah, looking back to like my birthday party Sky Zone days, I just think of those cubes of like me being like, it's so hard to get out of, and I just had like the most
yeah,
annoying time getting out of. So
yeah, but
if go ahead.
I was just saying, it's just it's like I don't know, like I'm like picturing the sensation of going into it. Like I don't know, it's like the initial sensation of those cubes on your body is just so nice. And honestly, the struggle of getting out is honestly part of the experience.
I
And
agree.
then if you're going
Yeah.
from a 10-meter high, you might be like in the middle of it, you might suffocate, but you know.
Nah, you'll be fine.
I'm trying to think of like Jello.
That's
Would
what
like
I
I
was gonna
bounce?
say.
Oh,
Yeah.
Would I
My
would
mind
I
went to
Jello's
bounce?
good.
slime.
Would I
Definitely
sink
not
in?
bouncing. I don't think. No
Might
My
way.
mind
pierce
went to
right through, you
slime
think?
originally, but I don't think I want to jump in slime.
That'd be
No.
gross.
Ew.
Okay.
Well,
No.
then you actually it's impossible to get out, I think.
I think so too. It's
But
almost like
Jello is like this weird middle ground of like, you
You can eat
wouldn't
your way
bounce.
out.
You
You
would,
can
yeah,
yeah, you can
yeah.
eat your way out.
You wouldn't bounce, but like you'd be in like this fun zone of like you wouldn't go that deep either. I don't know. I choose Jello. If I'm allowed to answer the question. Are we allowed to answer our own questions?
Yeah, I said Jello. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Steal my
Um,
answer. That's all right.
oh, sorry. Sorry, bro.
No,
Um, so last one, unless you got one.
no, I'm good.
All right, it's my famous last one, and I know there are gonna be takes on this one. This is a good crowd for it. Um, does Taylor Swift deserve the praise?
Eva, you can go.
No, you can go first.
Um, yeah, she does. Not in the sports scene, I think
Yeah,
it's
but
a
that was
little,
never the question, though. I don't know why, and she doesn't have to be associated with sports. That's the thing.
I think she is, as of right now, probably the most successful artist of all time, or up there. She's up there. You don't deny it. I see you rolling your
She's
eyes.
up there. She's up. I can't deny that. She's up there.
But yeah, she deserves the praise. She's pretty good. I don't really listen to music for lyrics, so I can't say she's a good lyricist because I don't listen to her lyrics, but her songs are catchy. She's got, as I say, she deserves it. Yeah.
I also think she deserves it. As a Swiftie, as someone who's attended the Eras tour, I think she does. I'm not like a crazy Swiftie. Like I can admit that she has some mid albums or kind of bad albums, aka the Tortured Poets Department. But I I mean she people love her for her lyrics and a good number of her songs. I think majority of her songs are very well written. And Folklore is one of my favorite albums of all time. So she deserves it.
She does have one really terrible song though. Cardigan's really bad.
No, it's one of her best songs. Don't listen to him.
Wow. All I know is the song
Cardigan.
Fortnite.
Yeah, me too.
Fortnite's pretty good. I've been listening to Fortnite.
I don't. Eh.
All right,
Cardigan's where it's
respectable
at.
answers. Respectable answers from both of you. But I mean, I think that's all we got. I think we covered a lot of ground here. Um, we got a lot done. Noah, you got anything before I wrap it up?
No, that was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for agreeing to do this.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you. This was
So,
fun.
yeah. So I'm gonna go. I don't know. I'm gonna recommend everybody in this Zoom call and everybody watching this go do mobility because that's what I'm gonna go do. I'm gonna go do mobility, and then after that, I want to say everybody, thanks for watching and stay tuned next time for Chris Shimkiss. But yeah, we will.
Oh my
We will.
God.
We will. We'll see you guys. See you guys next week.